Are you ready to dive into the world of project management? Hit that subscribe button as we explore how to stay relevant in an agile workforce. The planning performance domain. This is one of the most critical topics in project management, because if you don't know how to plan, then how is your performance going to be effective on your projects? So you can download this study guide, as always, on the EverTech and the project leaders page. We want you to, because we want you to plan for successful completion. And not only just completion, let's learn how we can plan effectively. Planning begins with understanding the business case, stakeholders' requirements, and the project scope and the product scope. High-level planning can begin before the project is even authorized. The project team progressively elaborates initial project documents such as the vision statement, the project charter, business case, or similar documents to define the coordinated path to achieve those desired outcomes. Planning may take many forms of the project life cycles assessment. This evaluates the potential environmental impacts of the project processes or the system. We're going to discuss some planning variables. Now, as like all topic areas, you don't need to memorize these. These are concepts that you have to understand and think about. Reflect back on your previous projects that you've worked with, or in the future, start thinking about how you can implement these strategies in your future projects. So we're going to talk about some variables. The development approach. This can influence on how much, and when you're going to conduct your planning. We'll discuss this further. The project deliverables, whether it's construction, upfront, or product development / high tech, where it's more continuous and adaptive. You can have organizational requirements, such as organizational governance, policies, procedures, and culture. These may require project managers to produce specific planning artifacts. And then also market conditions. These can change the speed of planning based on the risk and also the opportunities. Legal or regulatory restrictions. These may require specific planning documents, or you may be required to be granted authorization before securing any approval to release the product before the deliverable can reach the market. The delivery. We're going to first talk about product scope. Product scope is features and functions that characterizes a product, service, or a result. Project scope is the work performed to deliver that product, service, or result with the specified features and the functions. Predictive planning includes a scope statement, high-level project deliverables up front, and it utilizes a work breakdown structure. We have a video that describes work breakdown structures in our project scheduling video to decompose this into more details. Iterative or incremental approaches use high-level theme or epics, and these are decomposed into features and further into user stories and backlog items. So there's different levels of planning that you're going to have. We're going to also talk about estimating. Estimating is also a component of your planning activities. So quantitative assessments of variables are likely to have outcomes that include project costs, resources, or duration. And ranges are estimates. And these broad ranges can start when a project has little information about it, and then it increases once you have more information. Accuracy refers to the correctness of an estimate. Estimates are at the start of a project lower in accuracy, but as you're developing the project and as you're progressing throughout that project, your accuracy increases. Precision refers to the degree of exactness associated with an estimate. Confidence increases with the experience. New projects have low confidence. Deterministic and probabilistic. These are two different types of estimating. Deterministic is point estimating that presents a single number, an amount such as 36 months. Probabilistic includes a range of estimates, associated probability rates. Similarly, We have absolute and relative estimating. Absolute are specific information and they use actual numbers. Relative, it's used for comparison, only to show context. Flow-based estimating is developed by determining the cycle time, the amount of time that work starts and stays in progress, and in that stage until it's marked done and it's in that throughput. Then we also have adjusting estimates for uncertain. Estimates are inherently uncertain, and uncertainty is associated with risk. We have a video about that as well. Key deliverables such as dates, budgets can be adjusted, or contingency times funds can be added based on outcomes of a simulation. We're going to talk about schedules. A scheduling model for executing the project activities includes durations, dependencies, and other planning information. Predictive planning follows a stepwise approach. You first, in step one, decompose the project scope into specific activities. In step two, you sequence the related activities. Step three, you estimate the effort, duration, people, physical resources required to complete those activities. Step four, you allocate the people and the resources to those activities based on the availability. Step five, you adjust the sequence, estimates, and the resources until the agreed upon schedule. Schedule compression is applied if the schedule model does not meet the initial desired state. Crashing includes adding people into activities, working overtime, or paying to expedite deliveries. Fast tracking is a schedule compression method in which activities or tasks normally done in sequence are performed parallel, at least during a portion of the duration. Lead is when a successor activity is accelerated, such as starting a successor activity before the predecessor activity is finished. A lag is a delay in a successor activity. Network logic would show a lag between. When compressing schedules, it's important to determine the nature of the dependencies between those activities. You have four different types of dependencies, and we talked about this on our schedule video. We have that, and I'll make sure to link that in this. You have mandatory dependencies, which are contractually required to inherit relationships like work. Discrepancy or discretionary dependencies, which these are relationship based, and these are based off of best practices or project preference. External dependencies are relationships between project activities and non-project activities. And internals, these are relationships between one or more project activities. Adaptive planning uses incremental planning based on iterations and releases, where iteration builds and adds business or stakeholder value. A high-level release plan includes basic features and functionality. At the end of the time box, the team demonstrates the completed work. And at that point, the available backlog and the work may be updated and reprioritized for the next time box. The nature of work determines how much work, the duration, can be reduced by adding people and increasing the time due to coordination, communication, conflict, and also potential rework. We're going to discuss budget. Budget is also very important when you're planning. The project budget evolves from the agreed estimates that you have within your project. Estimating is applied to the project cost to develop cost estimates, and they're combined to create that cost baseline. So you have two baselines, a schedule baseline and a cost baseline. You also have a scope baseline too. A contingency reserve, these are funds that are added for uncertainty. And it's a good practice to set aside reserves for implementing risk response and responding to risk events if they occur. These are the responses that you have control over, the contingency reserves. The management reserves, you don't have much control over those. These are reserves set aside for unexpected activities related to the scope, managed by the sponsor, product owner, or the PMO. So project, team composition, and structure considerations. Cost structures are associated using internal project teams versus outside organizations. And additional considerations include project team skills, proficiency levels, years of experience with similar projects, and the ability to co-locate and use collaboration technology. Communication is the most important factor for engaging stakeholders, and it provides a foundation for establishing those communication processes and plans for the project. Planning overlaps with stakeholder identification, analysis, and prioritization. You want to make sure that you're planning for communication throughout your project. Who needs the information? Who should the information be shared with? And how often? And when should you share this information? What information do stakeholders need? What's the best way to provide that information? And who has the information needed? Physical resources. These apply to any resources that is not a person, such as materials, equipment, software, testing, and licenses. Engineering and construction projects will need a plan for procurement of these activities to acquire physical resources, including the lead time for delivery, movement, storage, and disposition of these materials. The ability to track these materials, inventory from arrival on site, delivery, is an integrated product. This includes evaluating bulk ordering versus cost of storage, logistics, global logistics, sustainability, and integrating management of these physical assets with the rest of the project. Procurement is also a critical component of planning. Project teams need to conduct make or buy decisions upfront, and planning helps set those expectations. It just helps you ensure that the procurement process is in place. You are able to identify those deliverables planned, whether they're needed in-house or you need to purchase them from external sources. We're talking about change. Projects should prepare for processes for adopting plans. Throughout the project, you're going to have change, and you're going to need to have a change control process for whether it's reprioritizing your backlog or rebaselining your project. Projects with contractual documents need to have a defined process for contract changes as well. Metrics have to be planned as well. There's a linkage between planning, delivering, and measuring that work. Metrics associated with your products are specific to the deliverables that are being developed. You want to establish metrics with thresholds of whether the work is expected, exceedingly positive, or just acceptable. Metrics associated with the schedule and the budget are driven by organizational standards, and they are related to the baseline and their approved version of the schedule or budget against what the actual results are. A lot of those metrics that you're going to be looking for when you're looking at that may be EVM, earn value management metrics. Metrics, baselines, and thresholds for performance are established, as well as any test and evaluation processes and procedures that will be used to measure performance and specification of the project deliverable. And last but not least, alignment. This is integrating it all together. Planning activities and artifacts need to remain integrated throughout the project. Planning for performance in the terms of scope and quality requirements have to be aligned with the delivery commitments. It has to be allocated towards the funds, the type, the availability of the resources, the uncertainty inherent of the project, and the stakeholder needs. Work on one project often parallels other projects and programs on the release or with their releases. Larger projects might combine planning artifacts into integrated project management plans. So once again, thank you for following along. This is a very topic-rich guide, planning for your projects. This is one of the most comprehensive guides out there, because in all projects, whether it is predictive, hybrid, or adaptive, you're going to have to plan for successful outcome. Thank you for following along. Look forward to seeing you again. Thank you for joining us today. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more project management content. See you on the next one.